The Intel processor i7 is one of the world's most effective leading processors. The i7 is made of just sand and silicon, manufactured in the countries of Costa Rica, China, Vietnam, and Malaysia, using knowledge learned from research done by Intel's R&D team in California. Intel receives its sand from Israel and its silicon from Ireland, China, and the US. The i7 is sold after production in technology stores such as Best Buy, Micro Center, and Fry's. The process is involved in the production of computers and is put inside the final stages of assembly. After assembly, the used products are sent to landfills or recycling centers like the one in Arizona. Sand is mined in Israel by low-wage workers, and silicon is mined in large quantities by low-wage workers as well. The manufacturing of the chip is a complicated process, starting with the cutting of the silicon ingots into silicon wafers. A liquid similar to that applied to the production of photographs is poured onto the wafer, which is then exposed to ultraviolet light. This triggers a chemical reaction which creates an entirely new product, which is the basis of the processor. The liquid is eventually dissolved by a solvent, and in doing so creates somewhat of a protective coating around the soon-to-be processor. The processor is then etched into the desired shape by a specialized machine. A special coating is applied to the processor that acts as a sort of resistance for the next step, ion implantation, also known as doping. The wafer is bombarded with ions, a variety of chemicals at a very high speed. 3 holes are then etched into the transistor, which are then filled with copper as a copper layering is applied to the top of the wafer. The excess material is then delicately polished off, and microscopic transistors acting as wires are looped through the processor. A fraction of the wafer is cut off and is tested, and if successful, the rest of the wafer is cut into tiny dish-shaped pieces, which are cut into the shape of the processor. A covering and a special substrate are applied to the processor, which is then ready to be packaged and shipped. The processor is shipped to distributors who sell the products to buyers in countries such as the US and the United Kingdom. There, these buyers then turn around and sell the products to consumers, after employees typically enter the processor into a personal computer. The mining of materials needed to create the processor is somewhat precarious. However, compared to the mining of resources such as coal, is relatively safe. Intel also provides jobs to the workers in these LDCs who otherwise may be left penniless. The site of Intel's plants is generally in countries with cheap labor and nearby access to silicon, or in Israel's case, sand. Israel does have slightly higher labor costs than Intel desires, but due to benefits from foreign relations and access to large quantities of sand, is a practical location for Intel to operate. The Intel processor is made out of very simple materials, however, it is very complex. So next time you turn on your computer, take a minute to think about the incredible journey that led it to where it is now.